Hey folks, Kilt-Man here. Captain Kilt-Man, vampire hunter. Although I've been a bit lax of late, I haven't really slain any vampires. So maybe it should be Captain Kilt-Man, whiskey drinker, because I've done plenty of that. Now, and kilt. Oh yes, one of my favourites. You've seen it before 1,000 times. It is the Hunting MacLeod. An absolutely glorious bit of tartan. So, anyway folks, I have changed the t-shirt I was wearing initially. You'll find out why. I was wearing a Captain Kronos t-shirt. Captain Kronos, 1972 it was made, released in 1974. It was Hammer's unique, unusual, experimental slant on their oft-told vampirism stories, with German Horst Janssen, the Bjorn Borg of the undead world, fighting off vampires, in this case vampires who suck the life essence out of their victims rather than the blood and retain their youth. But the big Grand Master is an expert swordsman, which is great because our Captain Kronos, who has sworn his life in a crusade against vampires and the undead, because after coming home from the wars, after serving in the Imperial Guard, we don't know which Imperial Guard this was, but hey, you know, he comes home and all his loved ones have been vampirized in his absence and he has to kill them. So he stakes his life in a vendetta against vampires. And Brian Clemens, who wrote the script for this and directed the movie, Brian Clemens of the Avengers fame, had a quirky, witty, fantastic sense of humour and a real avant-garde, you know, sort of aesthetic. So this was a film that had swashbuckling, it had heroism, it had vampires, it had gothic sensibilities, it had great location work, fight choreography, and a great ensemble cast. It was definitely unusual in the Hammer stable. Now, you know, I have covered this movie a lot beforehand. I've defo discussed it. You know I have. Way back, wearing a lot of Captain Kronos style paraphernalia, I did do a big warts and all review of the movie. I'll put the link down below for those who don't remember it or have never seen it. So, why have I raked this unhallowed ground all over again? Why? And why am I playing its wonderful, wonderful theme tune by Laurie Johnson? Which is, listen, that's the main theme, a galloping, rollicking, bounding sort of charge. Because he's an ex-cavalryman. He wears a hussar's jacket. He looks the way Adamant wanted to look. Adamant had to go and put war paint on and feathers in his hair, and he still didn't look anywhere near as cool as Horst Janssen as Captain Kronos. Kronos is Greek for time, and the whole point yes, we're getting to the whole point of this. Don't worry. Kronos is Greek for time. So Brian Clemens had the bright idea. We'll call him Kronos because this is a guy that can be in any time period. He can literally travel through time. We can bring his character back to fight evil in different cultures, different countries, across the ages, because Kronos is time. So we have an ongoing series of movies. And in the 70s, as I've discussed many times, and as most of you Hammer acolytes will know, Hammer was struggling. They could not compete with American movies, with European movies, and with the strong independent movies which are pushing all boundaries and breaking all taboos. They now appeared very quaint, very stale, very set in their ways. So you found in the 70s where a lot of fans sort of turned off them. I really love what they did in the 70s. And I know I've said it a lot. Hands of the Ripper, Dr. Jekyll and Sister Hyde, Frankenstein and Monster from Hell, Legend of the Seven Golden Vampires. There's one of them there. There's one of the 7 vampires there. And, oh God, what else? Straight On Till Morning. All these avant-garde, different, darker themed movies. And Captain Kronos as well. Captain Kronos. Because it's humorous, it's spooky, it's creepy, but it tells a different kind of story, and you have a genuine hero, a swashbuckling hero. So the idea was this guy could go on. Never happened. Never happened. Sadly, because Hammer really weren't making the money in the 70s. No matter what they tried, it just seemed like final last gasps from, you know, the traditional British stalwart studio of horror. They broke so much new ground in the decades beforehand, but now they were old hat. And yet they were trying all these new things. You know, Seven Golden Vampires, Kung Fu and vampires, Hammer and the Shaw Brothers. I've discussed all that a lot, as you know. But Captain Kronos, absolutely adore this movie. Caroline Munro, come on. And the sense of humour and the great storytelling in it is wonderful. If only this had gone on to spawn a series. If any Hammer film could lend itself to a comic book, this is the one. None of their other ongoing characters like Frankenstein, Dracula, Quatermass had the same sort of panache and daring do and genuine page-turning quality for a comic book or novelised serial as Captain Kronos. So, why did it take so friggin' long for a comic book version to come out? Now, it hasn't only just come out, folks. It hasn't. So forgive me if you're thinking I'm going to spring something brand new upon you. I knew about this when it came out, but I'm getting older now, and I never got hold of it. And then literally 3 or 4 days ago, I stumbled across it again. And I thought, why haven't I got that? Didn't I ever get that? Ordered it, it arrived, devoured it within, well, it took too long to devour it because I wanted to stop reading it less than halfway through. Because yes, folks, this story, this video does not have a happy ending. No, it doesn't. And for all you guys, and I know many of you are huge Hammer fans, and for us, it's always Hammer time. Captain Kronos lives in our dreams, and we always want to see more of his adventures. The film ends with Captain Kronos himself, Grost, his crook-backed academic assistant who knows all the lore and the rituals and the science behind vampirism and all the different takes and breeds of vampire. And Caroline Munro's Carla, the gypsy dancing girl. They find at the start of the film in the stocks, having been pelted with rotten vegetables. If I found Caroline Munro in the stocks, I wouldn't be pelting her with rotten vegetables. And because I could get into trouble with the next line I wanted to say, I'll leave it there. But anyway, Caroline Munro, a Hammer starlet, a scream goddess, one of the most beautiful women the world has ever known, and still is. She is great, but she's there for comedy value, which she does really well. She's the love interest, but she's also sort of sidelined, and yet she fights back to try and get in the limelight. And she's forever coming unstuck because Kronos is a driven man. He's on a crusade, but he looks after Grost, played by John Cater. Grost has the hunchback, and Grost, their chemistry between Horst Janssen, who is sadly overdubbed with, I've forgotten the guy's name, but he's done many, many things and worked in Hammer movies and Carry On movies. And he overdubbed him because he's a very Germanic accent, which director Brian Clemens always said, that accent was great, it worked, but Michael Carreras, head honcho of Hammer, no, and the studio suits and powers that be said, no, we must have more of an English accent, even though he's meant to be European. The Imperial Guard, he's very Teutonic, you know, or Prussian. So, anyway, but the chemistry between him, even overdubbed, and John Cater is wonderful because he looks after the crook-back Grost who gets antagonised and humiliated and belittled by other people, namely Ian Hendry, the great booze-swilling Ian Hendry, playing Kero, who's this thug in a tavern, in one throwaway sequence, but it's spellbinding. It's pure spaghetti western, which this film does mimic in many ways. So, Captain Kronos, the movie, is majestic. It's wonderful, and it has chemistry, wit, violence, action, suspense. It's got the lot on a thunderously great score as well, and great imagery and cinematography. So, lends itself to comic books. Finally, 2018, a 4-issue comic run comes out. Bizarrely under the Hammer Comics. Hammer were reaching out, Hammer still reaches out, and Hammer still fails to meet any sort of cash cow. It tries, but it fails. Everything is failing that they try and do these years. But, you know, we still believe in Hammer, that one day they will rise again. But with fangs and blazing red eyes and smoke effects coming from the ground as Hammer's hands come out of the ground like that, clawing their way out of the tomb. But with their new logo and with Titan Comics, was released this 4-issue series of Captain Kronos, Vampire Hunter. He says, skillfully trying to avoid the ring light, although I might shine the ring light on what you're seeing there, because there's our Kronos here, there's Carla, Grost is there somewhere, they're surrounded by vampires, and it's shit. Written by Dan Abnett and illustrated by Tom Mandrake, who, with, I think, his partner, his sister, his daughter, his mother, Sean Mandrake, did a lot of the covers and a lot of the illustrations and the colouring. Now, these people in comic book world have done lots, and I'm not going to pour scorn on what else they've done. I know Captain Kronos inside out. What they deliver here, which I was like, oh my god, what a great idea. This is just, how can you can't screw it up. Get hold of that and you'll discover just how you can screw it up. Those characters are what you see in the movie, except their characters, I mean, they are characters by name. Carla, who was a gypsy peasant girl, who gets, you know, persecuted for dancing on a Sunday, on a Sabbath. She now begins to tell the story. That now the trio, having survived their adventure in the Hammer movie, have gone on, and they're in Eastern Europe, still fighting the good fight. Sorry, that was a whiskey hiccup there. Did you hear that? They're a rarity, a whiskey hiccup. He says reaching for whiskey all over again. It was always, I was calling out to the whiskey. It was an involuntary spasm. Whiskey. And it leapt like Yoda's lightsaber into my hand. The force is strong with this one. So yeah, they're travelling the continent now. Now the film was always set in a sort of Middle Europe. You never knew quite what time period it was. You never knew quite what country it was. But in this book, you are told quite clearly where they are. They're in Eastern Europe. And they come across a town called Seachurch. A very English sounding name for somewhere that's meant to be in Eastern Europe. Seachurch. A town populated by aldermen. Aldermen are town elders. Aldermen are elected members of the municipal council, the town alderman. It was created under English law, and it's prevalent in Old English society. And it still is now, an alderman. Now it's an ombudsman or whatever the hell you call it now. But because, you know, England colonised America and all that, and the US, they have aldermen in the US as well. They do not have aldermen in Eastern Europe. And the names, Sergeant Cade and other stupid names of these aldermen who run the town of Seachurch, the very English sounding Seachurch, they're all English names. You're meant to be in Eastern Europe. Could you not even get that bit right? Apparently not. Carla now is a fucking badass. She is literally oh, what's her name out of Underworld? Kate Beckinsale. She's a ninja minx, buxom, gorgeous. Everywhere she goes, she turns men's heads. Because it's Caroline Munro, of course, of course. But now she's kicking ass. She has a little Van Helsing from the Stephen Sommers Van Helsing style crossbow gun. You know, Kronos himself now doesn't look like Kronos did. How bloody hard would it have been to give him his hussar's jacket? One of his iconic things. No, you don't even do that. He's got his blades. Of course he's got his blades. Grossed, crook-back grossed with his top hat and his old glasses, which are now these weird sort of steampunk spectacles. And he's got much longer hair and a big extravagant moustache. I will show you the imagery. Don't you worry. Doesn't have a hunchback anymore. Oh, well, that was the whole crux of their relationship. Kronos took pity on him and looked after him and respected him as a man, but would not stand for anyone insulting him. And that was the beauty of it, because Grost always felt horribly belittled, no matter how strong morally and how much inner fortitude Grost had. He would still suffer when he was humiliated and picked on by others, and it upset him. And that was a moment of humanistic sort of feelings and emotion in the movie, which really added depth to these characters. So what have you done to him in the book? You've took away his crook back and given him a Long John Silver peg leg. What the fuck is that for? You've given him a fucking peg leg. Why? Which doesn't even get mentioned. Whereas in the movie, they mention his crook back. So you've swapped one affliction, one disability, for another, and yet don't make any reference to it. The fuck are you playing at? That's just completely stupid. Why swap and then do nothing with it? Unbelievable. Unbelievable. The story centres around they've been chasing one particular vampire, Porphyria or something like that, Porphyris, whatever his fucking name is. And in the opening of the book, issue 1, they find him, they kill him, but they realise that, you know, oh, there's a reason why he's been coming this way. He's led us to the town of Seer Church with the alderman, who got like, oh, we had a plague here a while ago, and now in the plague quarter of the town where no one lives, Slake, the vampire god, is there with his acolytes. All the ones he's turned, they all live there, and we live in fear of him. You'd have to be completely bloody stupid not to have realised who the real monsters are. For me just saying that, you already know now. But I'll tell you what gives it away. Having imagery of some of the, well, Grost needs to get the background on the area and this Slake and all the relationships of everybody in the village and the town. And it's just the history of the place. Why? Because reasons. And you can see that the guy who's going to the library to get the books for him, the journals, is a creepy, weird looking nerd. You're like, well, you're a monster, aren't you? So straight away, you don't trust these guys. So there's obviously a big twist. Kronos is impetuous. Of course he is. But he's not fucking stupid. And yet Kronos just completely abandons all the rules that they ever established in the movie, where Grost will do all his tricks and his traps, and he'll set little booby traps around, and they'll find out when a vampire's crossed their way. And they've also encountered lots of different vampires. And these vampires, because Kronos recklessly will go straight into this sheltered part of the town, and he will, right, they're in there, but I'll go during daylight hours, and he gets attacked during daylight hours. They don't do that. I put the cross on these demons. The cross doesn't affect them. Oh my God, what? Fire doesn't affect them. Only beheading affects them. This goes on. So in the end, he goes in and he will, with his accomplices, Carla, who has already had a bit of a run-in, getting all mandrake roots and all sorts of other potions, and get some mushrooms from the non-sunny side of the tree stump, or whatever that fucking hell it is, like, to make whatever. In fact, I'm not even sure what she's making. Some kind of garlic poison potion, which I don't think even gets used. So what's all that about? What it does, it serves that she goes with some musketeer-dressed sort of policemen who all have English names, and there's a sergeant. It's all very English for this Eastern European town. And while you can get the those mushrooms over there, or whatever. and she bends over, you know, there's big boobage and there's a lovely peach through her dress, and this other guy's kind of like, oh, I want a bit of that, you know, he likes a bit of that, or he does, in your very Eastern European accent. And he puts the moves on her, and she beats the shit out of him. She has a spiked knuckle duster which comes out of nowhere and chisels him. And in all the fights, she's there with this crossbow gun, and she's battering vampires, even though she's the new trainee. But you've got no concept of how this has transformed from the 3 you met in the movie to now. And this is where it goes wrong. Look, in a comic book, you can do whatever you want. You take the characters, you've got the rights, you do whatever you want. That's fine. That is absolutely fine, of course. But in a book like this, with a foreword by the great Caroline Munro herself, which I'll show you, who loves this. But of course she'd say that. There she is, a picture of Carla as her as Carla from the film. Nice little foreword there. At the back of this rather lavish presentation, you have the curator of Hammer Movies, Hammer Studios, Marcus Hearn. I've shown you books of his. Marcus Hearn has written copiously about Hammer Movies. He has contributed so many times to DVDs and Blu-rays and documentaries, commentaries. He knows Hammer. What he doesn't know about Hammer has obviously been a lie made about Hammer, because he knows everything about Hammer. At the back of this book, you have all the basis of the movie. And you have pages of this, lots of photos. It's worth it for this alone. Pictures of the cast. How did they cast them? Interviews with Brian Clemens, who directed it and wrote it. And great pictures again. A lasting legacy, how they intended this to go on as a series. Loads of great pictures. Then you get like some of the issue covers, which is always a good thing in these collected graphic novels, which are lovely. They're great. And also a nice touch is having, they've got that ring light again, but there was obviously alternate covers for some of these, and you had a glamour version with Caroline Munro in various glamour poses. And then you get the biographies of the people who wrote this, and a few adverts, mainly for another Hammer Comics and Titan Comics, Mummy, or The Mummy. The Mummy Palimpsest. Now, the minute I saw that, when I bought this, I thought, I'll get that as well. Lucky I didn't, because I've read many reviews of it. And that Mummy story, which actually may be better than this, but has sod all to do with Hammer. Nothing to do with Hammer. It's just that Hammer have let their name to it. But it could be better than this, because this, folks, is tripe. I'm sorry to say it. They have an ongoing joke in it, which is on every fucking page. Language. Sorry. And that's the joke. Words like bloody, words like shit, and other little, but mainly bloody. And then Grost will continue to say language. It's on every fucking page as this running gag. It's not funny. It's just not funny. What's the point of it? The twist. We know who the bad guys are. It's fucking language. It's so obvious who they are. So that when Slake, the big muscle-bound vampire lord in this shunned quarter of the town, he battles with Kronos a couple of times, but when he finally go in there to really take him down, the fight's over within seconds. And well, that was bloody easy. Language. Because, yeah, that wasn't the big fight. The big fight is with all the aldermen, the elders of the town, who are really the vampires. But they just did the heat. Slake was a vampire amongst them, but his appetite was too insatiable. So they drove him out, however they did that, and put him in this locked-in part of town where he's got all his own minions there. But these other elders are using the townsfolk as cattle, basically. But they want Kronos to kill him because he's still a threat to them. What? But it's fucking obvious what's going on right from the start. And then Kronos, having dispatched Slake, then goes in with his compadres to confront in a Hercule Poirot, Miss Marple thing of unmasking them. Yes, look at this old painting here. This painting's for 300 years old. It's all of you guys, you know, you're vampires too. But these are old vampires and they're shit. So the big climax. The big climax with the big muscle-bound vampire was cack. So then you go, oh, well now we're going to fight the real ones. The ones who are really in charge. They're all old men. It's shit. Absolute shit. The artwork, folks. Okay. I don't know if you can see any of this. Got that pesky ring light will spoil things here. In fact, I may turn it off. Let's see if you can see any of this. That probably hasn't helped in the least. And it's in this they call it verses, verse 1, verse 2. In other words, the first comic, second comic. I'm trying to show you pictures of, I mean, beheading seems to work on these guys. But you've got so many stupid elements to it. Hell's teeth, says Kronos. Kronos, who does that horrible landing like an Avengers style superhero. That landing there, he leaps over something high and lands, one leg outstretched and fist on the ground. Thor, Spider-Man, Captain America. Fucking everyone does it. Everyone does that. Captain Kronos didn't need to do that. But yeah, it's a comic book, so of course it's going to be, you're going to have comic book embellishments. And a quote on the back of this from comicoftheday.blogspot.co.uk. This feels, in the best sense of the concept, like a classic Marvel horror comic. This series is a delight, highly recommended, grade A. Grade A if you're in fucking primary school, because this is absolute trite, annoying garbage. It's only 112 pages long and I still struggled to get through that. Struggled. And I love this shit. But this is shit. Okay, let's just show you some absolute stupidity. You've got that stupid swearing thing on every single bloody page. You've got this initial vampire that's led them to the very English sounding town of Seachurch in Eastern Europe. And you have Carla smacking with her knuckle duster this vampire here. Look, boosh, took him down there. You see him on his knees. My tooth, the little tart broke my tooth, he says. And then you see his mouth. Well, where's the broken tooth? Wouldn't it have been ideal to have shown a broken tooth? Don't do it. So forget the garbage script. And there's Grost with this fucking peg leg. Who's in all the action scenes. He's got a fucking peg leg. What the fuck are you on about? They have guns. There's a great moment, or rather, well, I say great moment. And here's how ridiculously cool Grost is now. Let's just show. Look at him. Look at that moustache. Look at the long flowing hair. And these steampunk goggles. Why? No need. Could have kept him as he was, because he's infinitely better. Now, when they come to rescue Kronos, who stupidly goes in, well, he goes in during daylight, but, you know, you'd have thought he'd been okay. But these guys are meant to have travelled far and wide and encountered all sorts of vampires. But where the hell is it now? Oh, God damn it, where is it? Folks, I'm trying to find something which really, really pissed me off. It's coming, it's coming, it's coming. Right, okay. Right, can you see here? They're coming to rescue Kronos, who's gone into this little sheltered part of town, this haunted part of town with the plague victims, vampires, and come to rescue. She's got her little crossbow gun there. They're riding forth. I bet there's a language. Oh yeah, there is. Well, that plan's obviously gone arse over. Language. Fuck off. That's on every page. Change the record. Look at this. Don't know if you can see there. She shoots with her little crossbow, one of the vampires there, and she's got him in the head. Can you see that? Can you see that there? She's got him in the head. So, what does she say? Then use your whip. God save us being engrossed. Get us out of there. The one I shot, it's back on its feet. There was a silver tip on that bolt, and it skewered its heart. No, it didn't. She shot him in the head. So the fucking story itself and the dialogue is garbage, and the illustrations bear that up as well. I will say that I like some of the gore. There's heads and limbs coming off, and some of the angles that they use are very cinematic. Weird off-kilter angles, looking down from the rafters of buildings and rooms, looking down. But you've got stupid bits like that, crashing through church windows, looking really stupid. And there's bits where both Carla and Kronos leap onto the back of the wagon, Grost's wagon, and they are literally completely horizontal, almost like Christopher Reeve's Superman flying through the air, holding on very tenuously. It looks so stupid. Folks, don't get me wrong. I never wanted to pour scorn on this. I adore Captain Kronos. I wanted to see more of Kronos. I still do. This is not Captain Kronos. Yeah, they have the names, but you completely transform their characters and the dynamic between them. Things have to evolve, but you need to have that stepping stone between what the fans know and love to what you're going to bring forth. This should have been way further down the line. If you're going to have Carla as some fucking vixen of violence, super badass vampire slaying tart, she's not like that. They use her as bait. She even says it in this, to be perfectly fair. She said, kind of asked, why are you here? Well, I'm bait. Yeah, but you're not bait, because you can kick ass just as much as they can. Where did you learn all those skills? And the chemistry relationship between Grost and Kronos is not there. It's just not there. Kronos has depth in the movie. He's a man of few words. He's a man of mystery. He's the man with no name, although his name is Kronos. But he is a spaghetti western type hero. But he does have depth. There is a backstory. There is humanity to him. There is a sense of dignity and respect and honour. This is just a completely one-dimensional dickhead. Folks, I would love to have recommended this. I can't. I think it's absolute garbage. And I'm deeply, deeply annoyed that I spent money on that. Anyway, folks, at least it got me talking about Kronos again. So I'm going to watch the film again tonight, because Kronos rules, just not so far in the comic book realm. Hammer House of Horror, their esteemed magazine during the 70s, did a comic strip adaptation of that movie, as they often did for some of their movies. And that, even in black and white, is awesome compared to that travesty. Folks, Captain Kronos Vampire Hunter from Titan Comics and Hammer Comics gets a massive thumbs down. I have been and always shall be Kilt-Man at your services, and I always tell the truth. I'm going to see you all